Hey guys, first of all, I do apologize if you hear any boom boom sounds. Those are going to be like notifications via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, text messaging, you name it, because I'm recording this audio wise on my phone. So I do apologize if you hear that, as well as I do apologize if you hear boom, a big boom sound, because that'll be my bank telling me, hey, something didn't go through due to lack of funds. But with that said, let's talk about what's been going on with Looney Tunes. Now we can positively say, because I wanted to start to talk positively, that the hope that The Day the Earth Blew Up would remain in theaters for a little longer is going to happen. Apparently, there's been enough support, financially, if not through verbal mouth and all that. There's been enough, support to basically get Catch-Up Entertainment and by extension Warner Brothers to basically say, okay, fine, we'll keep the movie in theaters for maybe a week or so more than planned, because they were going to originally pull it today. They were originally going to pull it today to make room for Disney's Snow White, the controversial one. But yeah, The Day the Earth Blew Up is going to remain at least for a little longer. But The Day the Earth Blew Up may be a sign of where Warner Brothers is going to take a lot of their properties out, not just Looney Tunes, in the future. Because as I mentioned in one of my original videos done a couple of days ago, Warner Brothers, through Max, that is, Max being a division of Warner Brothers, decided to basically they decided to remove the remaining 40 plus Looney Tunes, classic Looney Tunes shorts from the service. And this didn't sit well with a lot of fans. And everybody was wondering what's going on. It's like they knew, in their opinion, point of view, David Zaslav never liked, the Looney Tunes or anything like that, never had a care for them or any of the corporate wigs there, mostly Zaslav. But they didn't feel that he would go this far. They didn't feel like, hey, he would allow this to actually happen. But the question, obviously, why did it happen? Well, as I said in the original video, I believe there's various reasons. One, you have MeTV Toons now with the various, cartoon blocks like Bugs and Friends and Cartoon All-Stars. Bugs and Friends, of course, being all Looney Tunes. Cartoon All-Stars being a hybrid of Looney Tunes, Max Fleischer cartoons, Walter Lantz cartoons, you name it. So you had those blocks, as well as you have some original programming. Also was led to believe, like, last year's Bugs Bunny's birthday special they did. So you have that outlet, MeTV Toons, which is an over-the-air syndicated network or channel that you can find on, over-the-air syndication, various cable outlets, as well as through streaming outlets like Friendly TV and Philo. The other reasoning is because of the potential planned release and re-release of a lot of the classic Looney Tunes shorts in various collections on Blu-ray, 4K, and maybe even DVD. Some being released for the first time period ever. So that could be a reason as well. The other reason, as I mentioned in that video, is because they've been uploading, through various times, weekly, bi-weekly, daily, bi-daily. They've been releasing, a lot of, not releasing, but uploading, a lot of Looney Tune cartoons on the Warner Brothers Classics channel. I do apologize for a little bit of pause there. We have like a swallow that's been in our backyard for the past, couple of days, been flying into our backyard and gathering, some stuff, eating some stuff. I could assume it's like a mama swallow or something, getting ready to lay her eggs or something, just the way it moves around. I mean, I was out there earlier and it didn't fly off. It was just walking around like, it was like it didn't have a care in the world, But anyway, getting back on topic. Like I said, the other reason being that they've been uploading weekly, bi-weekly, daily, bi-daily, a lot of Looney Tune classics onto the Warner Brothers Classics YouTube channel. So there's that reason. And the third reason, obviously, being this time of year, is, basically maybe they're looking at it as a tax write-off, not for Warner Brothers entirely, but for the Max streaming service itself, because my theory, my speculation is because it's such a big corporate entity they give responsibility of doing their own taxes to all the divisions, including the streaming divisions. So Max, in my opinion, it's been put in charge of doing their own stuff, doing their own tax write-offs, and maybe taking the classic Looney Tunes off is one way of looking at it, because let's be honest, I think there are fees that are included by adding new stuff to the service, and keeping it there for as long as you want. And I think the classic Looney Tunes in their mind may have cost a little too much to have outside of the other stuff they do. So that could be a reason. So those being the various 4 reasons, to me, is as to why I think Max removed the remaining classic Looney Tunes shorts that they had. But again, getting back to the subject here, how does this, react to what Warner Brothers has planned for the future? Well, like I said, Catch-Up Entertainment came to the rescue and basically got The Day the Earth Blew Up into theaters. And now they look like they could be on the verge of doing the same with Coyote vs. Acme, which, if done, could be released next year, if not later on this year. But we'll see. Now, the reason I bring that up as well is because if this is the direction Warner Bros. Is going, then it's going to be the direction they're going to go for a lot of other stuff that fans want to see, movie-wise and TV-wise in the future. In other words, Warner Brothers is not going to come out and say, yeah, we're going to create this new series and put it on Max, or we're going to put it on one of our Warner Brothers affiliated stations out there. They're not going to do that. Instead, they're going to license it out. And why? Because by licensing that, almost got tongue-tied there, but by licensing it out, easy for me to say, by licensing it out, these properties to other outlets, like they've done with The Day the Earth Blew Up, and potentially, Coyote vs. Acme, by licensing these other properties out there, out to other affiliates, if you will, for a certain price point, what they do, and this should be obvious to all of us, what they're doing basically is they will essentially, by selling off the distributing rights, to other outlets like Catch-Up Entertainment, Lionsgate, which is I think, Lionsgate is still the whole thing, right? Yeah, like Lionsgate, 824, Blumhouse, you name it, Disney, Apple, you name it. By selling out distributing licensing to these other places, even the independent ones like Catch-Up Entertainment, for a certain amount of money, they're able to basically use that money they get, from the sale to pay off their debt. That's the reason they're doing this. It's not because, maybe and maybe part of it is true. Maybe part of it is true. But it's not just mostly because some of them don't see the value in the Looney Tunes properties, because Looney Tunes put them on the freaking map. Let's be honest about that. It's not because of that. It's because of the fact that they're trying to find ways to get money to basically pay off their debt. Because the last thing I'm sure Zaslav wants to do and his crew wants to do is basically, basically go out and get a loan to pay off the debts they currently have, because if they do that, then they're in debt again. So what's the, what other means do they have? Excuse me, what other means do they have? I'm just saying. So I think it's obvious, and it should be to everybody, that Warner Brothers is doing this not because they don't have any love for the Looney Tunes. They know that if it wasn't for the Looney Tunes, there would be no WB. It's not because of that. It's not because they don't have no love for Scooby-Doo. It's not because they don't have no love for DC or some of the properties there and so on. It's not because they don't have a love for Hanna-Barbera and all that. No, it's a fact that it's more about paying off their debt. And by selling the distributing license to all these other outlets, if you will, they can pay off their debt. Yes, they can still pay those that contributed in creating, these licenses or these shows or movies at the same time, but also the main priority for them is to pay off their debt. And I know a lot of people listening to this are like, well, if that's the case, Why doesn't Zasloff and his team just come out and say it? Just come out and say, yeah, we really don't want to license out these movies and shows that are, actually ours, that are under our name, under our umbrella. But financially right now, we need all the money we can get to pay off our debt. And I'm sure if he was to say something like that to a lot of people, they would understand, okay, we get it. We may not like the direction you're going to make it happen, but we get it. But he has yet to do that. He has yet to do that. But, right now, because I feel, and I know I'm not the only one that knows or feels this way or sees it this way, basically, as of right now, distributing licensing is the future for Warner Brothers when it comes to some of the properties. You cannot tell me that just because they might be working on a new Harry Potter series and so on, and whatever the case may be there, you cannot tell me that even though they might try to make it a Max original, they're not going to give distributing licensing to somebody else for other outlets to gain access to that show, because they will. They will do exactly that. Don't believe me, just watch. I'm guarantee you it will happen. But in the long run, though, outside of that, as well as some other properties like Superman, like DC and all that, yeah, those will be directly released by Warner Brothers. But distributing internationally, I guarantee you, distributing internationally, they might do it themselves, but they might also give it to other people so that way they can get something in return financially, so that way they can pay off their debt. That's really what this is in the end, guys. That's really what this is in the end. And yes, it's a shame that Zasloff does not want to come out and just acknowledge that, or someone representing Zasloff and his team does not want to come out and acknowledge that, because it's as plain as day to you and me why this is happening, why this is occurring. And if they would just come out and say it, I think everybody would be very understanding of it. And that's the truth. But yeah, in the end, guys, I think, again, it's obvious. I know some people might say you didn't have to make an audio video or audio podcast to talk about this, and that's true. But honestly, it's just something that even if you already knew this being the case, there are some that probably are leaning towards that direction but need more kind of confirmation, in my opinion. But yes, it's obvious that the reason for Catch-Up Entertainment getting the distributing license theatrically for The Day the U.S. Blew Up, potentially for Coyote vs. Acme, and for any other future Warner Brothers property, animated or live action in the future, along with properties that they are focusing on, but they are going to give distributing licensing internationally as well by selling those rights. It's obvious that the reason for this is to get money to pay off their debt. That's what it is. That's what it is at the end of the day, and I think it's obvious to a lot of us. Let's be honest. They've probably been in negotiation with Netflix as well. Look, Netflix has some of the Justice League cartoons. So you can't tell me they haven't been in contact with them either to try to, give them or sell them a distributing license for a property that they're currently working on, that they're going to primarily put on their network, on their service, but also give over to the likes of Netflix or Peacock or whatever in the future, so they can have some extra revenue coming in to pay off their debt, because they are. Let's just be honest about that. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are down below. Do you agree with my theory, my speculation as to why Warner Brothers and David Zasloff are going in this direction by selling distributing licensing, for the properties, for the movies, for the shows, animated, live action? Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Comment if you like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel, share the video. Also, you can catch me in all your favorite audio and video podcast affiliates like iTunes, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, Audible from Amazon, and Radio Public and Overcast. You can also find me at VENMO at BW Roses. You can find me at rumble.com at BW Roses, odyssey.com at BW Roses-5. You can also find me at deviantart.com at BVW1979, at inkbunny.net at BW Roses. You can also find me at my Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. You can find stuff there I think you'll enjoy. Also, guys, you can check me out at Patreon.com at BW Roses. I have a new video up there under the $3 and $5 tier. You can also support me with a $1 tier tip. Also, guys, you can support me through Cash App and Venmo if you want. Also, you can find me at twitch.tv and kick.com. You can also follow me and support me at Twitter, aka X at BW Roses, Blue Sky at BW Roses, and at TikTok at BW Roses. But guys, give me your thoughts overall. Do you agree with what I had to say? And everything? Let me know. And until next time, I'm out.